Good evening. Let me introduce ourselves. I am Joe Anderson, and with me is Teresa Burge Irwin. We are very happy you are all joining us tonight. If you would please sound off in the comments so you can be registered in our weekly drawing, I would greatly appreciate it. And without preamble, Teresa, why don't you tell everybody who won last week?
Anna Babcock is our winner from last week. Way to go, Anna.
Way to go, Anna. Good job. Tonight, we are going to be looking at our top 5 plot holes in the TWD universe. And we did about our top 6 through 10 with everybody else's questions trying to be answered. So tonight we're going to go with our top 5 and a couple from some people that sound off in the comments so you can be registered in our weekly drawing. I would greatly appreciate it. Okay. All right, so let's start off with a question from Gail Begani. She asked why the bullets don't go through the rotten walker and kill the person who is within inches of the said walker. The only thing I can figure out is that because of body mass, the bullet gets slowed down and doesn't get through just pretty much like it does through a live human, or even Hollywood magic is the reason why. That's about all I could find on it. Teresa, did you find anything on that?
I mean, no, nothing really other than what you just said.
All right, so we will go to number 5, how careless the characters have become. Yeah. While the biggest threat in the series has proven to be their fellow man, plenty of characters. Hello, Christine. Glad that you could join us tonight. Plenty of characters have still succumbed to the Walking Dead, yet no matter how many characters get eaten, bitten, or scratched, the others continue to act carelessly when out in the open. Yeah, I mean, you know, in the very early starting, they covered their clothes in walker guts. Michonne tore off the faces of her boyfriend and his best friend and used them as a
Repellent.
Right. I don't know why they don't do that anymore. It seems to me that would be the smart way to keep them from getting to you. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you think that they'd have like a little place over there and they'd have a bunch of them kind of like corralled up, like when they go out, go over and grab them a few, you know, and like dogs or something, you know, taking them out walking, at least it's going to protect them.
Right.
It makes sense. Sounds funny, but it makes sense.
Christine said yes, they should be expert at this by now. Yeah, you would think. I mean, you know, all the people in the kingdom wore all that baseball stuff, and of course you had Glenn in his riot suit. But you know, nowadays there ain't nobody wearing anything.
Do you think it might be now that they all have realized that the living is actually more dangerous than the walkers? You know, that's their biggest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they seem to be, you know, more at the beginning. It was more about the zombies, and then it was about the other. But then, and Gail and Christine just said something, but I missed it. It's off of my screen. I'm sorry, Christine.
I'm not getting it on mine.
Get to that in time. It was in. Nikki Lynn Archibald says hi. Hello, Nikki. Yeah, the people are. I think that they're more worried about human than the in the animated, but you know, which is worse at the moment? I still say that the walkers are worse than the people at this time.
Well, I mean, at least the walkers are predictable. The humans aren't predictable.
Right. Yep. That is true. Okay. Number 4 is One Hungry Zombie. Christine says, true, their fellow man and live ones are scary and more of a threat. Yep. I mean, you know, like in this last episode and in the last episodes before the 6th, you had Connie being taken by that one, what was that guy's name? Teresa?
Virgil.
Right, Virgil, and of course, you know, you had the Whisperers going after everybody, and we can't forget about Negan. So yeah, they're I think that they're worse. But the zombie that supposedly ate Lori, yeah. Now this was stupid, in my opinion.
Very stupid.
What happens is that after Carl dispatches Lori and saves the baby, Rick goes on a killing spree, I guess you would call it, trying to find Lori.
As Glenn put it, he went, what was he, the mayor of Crazy Town or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the problem isn't the death itself, but what happens afterwards. I mean, Rick goes and finds this bloated body in front of the bloody stain on the floor where she gave birth to Judith. And then all of a sudden, he just goes crazy trying to find Lori. I mean, no zombie has ever eaten a full human being before. Why would it start now? I mean,
to be honest with you, I did not know that that walker had actually eaten her until probably last year or so. I came across it where I read where Greg had given an interview at some point in time, and he had talked about it and confirmed that the walker had eaten her. And right. I couldn't. It blew my mind that they actually went that far. It makes no sense. I mean, right. Only thing he found left of her was her wedding ring.
Right. And Christine just said, "Yep."
You know, and it had
Crazy Town.
You know, and they put the hair around his mouth to imply that it was Lori's long hair. But yeah, it didn't make sense because, like you said, no one else had been. No other body had been devoured like that before.
Right.
I mean, like, how did he eat the bones? Right.
Nikki said that she thinks that he only ate part of her. I mean, which is true. It's not like they sit there and gnaw on your bones and everything, but, you know, the whole body and everything was gone except for a little bit of blood. So, yeah, that's a very what is it? A magician took care of that one.
Yeah. So. I mean, and for them not to do, which is a good thing, they never done it again. It never happened again. Thank goodness.
Right.
But yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was silly. I mean, Nikki says they buried part of Lori at the prison, I thought, and Christine said, I rewatched the episode to see if it really was Lori because the wedding ring doesn't mean everything was eaten. She was pretty skinny, Gail Begani says. Yeah. I don't know. Did they bury Teresa?
Yeah, they buried her. Yeah, they put something there in the ground. But it never showed them putting anything in the ground. It never showed them it just shows that there's a grave there for her with a marker.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't think that there was. I mean, she disappeared unless they put the walker in its place. I don't think that, I don't know. I would have to go back and look at it just to see, but yeah.
No, I've watched it. I was actually looking for something else in that at one point in time back a few months ago over a question I had asked about Rick, and it was Lisa Jean Tucker had brought it to my attention that he had picked up a wedding ring, and I had never. So I watched that scene like intently many times to see, you know, and to watch that, and there's no you don't never see any kind of part of body or nothing.
Right.
Once he finds that walker.
Okay, so yeah, that's stuff keeps on whizzing by. Mike Giordano says they definitely should have shown something. Yep, they should have shown something. So
I mean, they do graves for a lot of them, even if they don't have they'll put something that belonged to them on their grave to, you know, to commemorate them.
right.
I'm trying to think of someone right off the top of my head that they didn't have the body for, that they did a grave anyways for, but I can't think of it.
Right. Okay. All right. Mike says, but we at least see a body every other time. Yeah, I mean that's definitely, that's why I think this is a big plot error, because she is the only one I've ever seen that disappears without a trace.
Well, the reason there wasn't one because they said that walker ate it.
Yep. So let's go on to the start of the governor's vendetta against Rick. Makes no sense. All right. Gail says for Carol when they thought she was dead. I don't know what that was, Gail.
What was it?
For Carol when they thought she was dead. Nikki says.
Oh, she's talking about whenever T-Dog got bitten, then her and T-Dog went down into the tombs together, and he sacrificed himself again to the walker so she could hide. And they found her knife in her headscarf, and they thought she had gotten bitten. They thought she was dead there for a little while.
So that it was Carol instead of T-Dog. I gotcha. Nikki says Otis, he had a grave at the farm, but nobody thinks Shane sarcasm. Mike Giordano says Glenn. Well, Glenn, Maggie puts the pocket watch on his grave.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. That is right about Otis. He was left back at the school, but they did do a grave for Otis.
So, okay. So, right. Well, okay. So, I was wrong. Didn't they put Glenn's name on the wall when he died under the dumpster? Oh, I don't know. I can't remember that one. What you know about that one?
What was the question?
Mike said something about Glenn's name being put on the wall after he was under the dumpster, after they thought he was dead under the dumpster.
Yeah, they thought that they put his name on the dumpster after Michonne and them had came back, and they assumed, you know, that he was gone. Right. Yeah, his name was on the wall.
And Nikki agrees with you, Teresa. So you guys remember a lot more stuff than I do. I guess I remember a bunch of stuff that nobody thinks about. Okay, the start of the governor's vendetta. Okay, since I haven't seen the comics, I know that the comics has a whole different backstory on Woodbury and the governor. So I'm going to start with saying that the governor was one of the most iconic villains. Not only is he an insane leader who enjoys torture and rape, he went to extreme lengths to win the prison from Rick's group. I know that, Teresa, you want to tell us how he's depicted in Woodbury in the comics?
Well, to me, he's kind of like, it didn't make sense. I mean, he I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but it seemed like it was the same, not the same, but I mean, they find Woodbury differently. They walk up to it and go in willingly.
Right.
Thanks, Joe.
For what? Hey,
You put me on the spot. I'm totally.
I gave you notes earlier. You know, I haven't read the comic,
but he was it was the same. He was an ass from the get-go.
Right. But from what I read in the comics, the Woodbury was unsafe, and he saw the prison as safe. And in the TV show, of course, the prison isn't safe, and Woodbury is safe. So why would he go after him? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've never read the comics, so I can't tell you that. But I mean, the vendetta is stupid. In my opinion, he's safe behind all those walls. He has guns on those walls. He has a tank, for God's sake. What does he need a prison for?
I took it, with both instances, I took it that he was just jealous that Rick was able to clear that prison when his people couldn't. Because he remarked about that a few times. You 10 people cleared that whole prison by yourself. You know, he kept like making like they were lying to him. I kind of think he got a little jealous that maybe that they were better than them.
All right. Nikki says the governor cut Rick's hand off when he refused to fight walkers.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You can answer that one. I can't. He wouldn't go out and fight for the governor. Is that what it was, or? Christine says the governor was demented, and yes, I think he was jealous of Rick's group. Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna have to.
Gonna have to what? Reread?
I'm kind. I think I just my brain has like, it's shut down.
Right. No, I mean, I'm not going to read the comics till after the show's over. I'm not going to ruin a good thing so far. Mike Giordano says, damn, I can't remember at all where it started either. Nikki says in the TV show he just wanted to take the prison from Rick because he knew he was going to die and wanted Rick to die or at least lose the prison. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Gail agrees. So I just know that if in the TV show, if they would have introduced Michonne sooner and, you know, and had Michonne killing, of course, his daughter and taking the governor's eye and all this, then Michonne goes to Rick and company, and then the governor would have had a reason to go after Rick and them because of harboring a fugitive, so to speak. So I think it could have been done a lot better than the way that I could see why he wanted the prison, because from what I saw, things were a lot better behind that bus in those walls than whatever was in that prison.
I felt that it was just that he just didn't want them in the area because to him, he looked at Rick's group as competition. They could possibly be better than him, and he did not want nobody better than him and around. That was my take in some of that.
Gotcha. Nikki says that in the comics, Michonne takes out the governor's eye cuts off his hand, and castrates him for raping her.
Okay. Yeah, she put a good working on him.
Well, that seemed to be the way that the governor worked. I mean, he did have Glenn and Maggie there, and he was going to at least acting like he was going to attempt to get to Maggie. So that's not too far off, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
Christine said he was greedy, wanted it all, and Rick was a threat. Well, I mean,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, I didn't see Rick as a threat. I mean, like I said, Rick and his group was in a prison, almost overrun by walkers all the time, and he was safe behind his walls and everything, so as safe as anybody can be. So, I mean, that's
well, I remember he said that he had sent a group over there to clear the prison out, the prison yard out, or some part of the prison out. And they came back and they told him they couldn't do it. And then he's like, and you're telling me these 10 did it?
Gotcha. Okay. Nikki says, I'm not sure if he raped Maggie or not in the show. And no, Nikki, he did not rape her in the show. I can tell you that. I know that for a fact. He did not go that far.
No,
I
he
don't
didn't.
think that the show producers and all them would actually let him go that far. I'm surprised they went as far as they did, but he did not rape her. Let's go to another question by Gail Begani that we got through our post earlier this week. She asks, how did Enid get out of the closet that Carol locked her in season 6, episode 16, Last Day on Earth? Playing devil's advocate, she could have been locked in there until she kicked the door out because people couldn't hear because the closet was in the middle of a two-story house, and people couldn't hear her, or they thought she was gone because all the leaders were gone and she went with them. Or it could be something simple as somebody heard her screaming and kicking and let her out. The episode does not show it. It shows her being put in there, but then they don't go any further than that. So there is no great answer for that except for someone let her out.
I agree.
Mike said, great episode, LOL. Okay. Which episode was that, Mike?
It was a stressful episode.
Christine says, we definitely don't see her being let out. No, we don't. We see Carl put the chair up against the doorknob, and then it's over for that part of it. But if I'm not mistaken, Mike is probably saying it's a great episode because of how it ended, with them being introduced to Negan. So
that was a very stressful episode, Mike.
I don't know. I gotta agree with Mike. It was a great episode. Okay, number 2. How the zombies in the beginning can pick up stuff, bash stuff, run, climb, do whatever they want. And then it's been established the biters are depicted as being slow moving, mindless and vicious. All they care about is eating human flesh for the most part. But in the first season, they appeared to have a bit more of intelligence. You know, in the first episode, Days Gone By, Rick sees a girl he believes is in trouble, but realizes it's a threat. And what does the girl do? She picks up a teddy bear that she finds on the road. Yeah. Yep. You know, then they go. Go ahead.
Do you think that they may have done that because, originally it was just going to be those 6 episodes? That's all there was going to be of that show.
Okay, that's the first I ever heard about that one.
Yeah, it was just going to be one season, those 6 episodes, and then by the time it got to the second, by the end, they had already signed on for a second one, and they got 13 more episodes.
Yeah. Hey, that's first I ever heard of it. I mean, they were able to pick up stuff and throw it at them. They picked up rocks, threw them against try to break the window, and
one tried to follow Glenn and Rick up that ladder when Rick got out of the tank and they were climbing up that ladder to go on top of the building. One tried to follow him up that.
Yep.
One did climb the fence, and he climbed all the way over the fence.
Right. We got a bunch of comments here. Let's go through them real fast. Mike says, I don't think they even knew where the show was going. Yep. Nikki says, Frank Darabont thought it was scarier if the walkers maintained some of their human abilities. Christine said, yes, zombies initially seemed to remember some of themselves before turning. Mike went on to say, even Morgan's wife knew the house. Yep, she was one that turned the doorknobs on the house trying to get in. Nikki said Frank Darabont was fired partly for disagreement over the walker's capabilities. Nikki also says the newer powers that be thought it would be scarier if they didn't maintain them. Nikki, you could be absolutely right. I did not watch it at the very beginning. Just like I said, I haven't watched the comics either. I came in season 4 and had to binge watch everything up to that point. So I don't know. Do you have any other insight more than what I could show on there? Teresa?
No, I agree with what Nikki says.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with her.
All right. Christine says the early walkers were definitely different. Perhaps they then realized they couldn't continue with the zombies like that. I mean, just the CDC ended season 1, right?
I'm sorry?
The CDC ended season 1, right?
Correct.
This is the only thing I got a problem with everything that's being said. I don't got a problem with it, but I do. Because at the CDC, what's his face, the doctor shows the whole big diagram of the zombie's brain being losing its light and going down to basically the pituitary gland in the very bottom of its skull. So if the zombie lost everything and became mindless, then all that stuff that happened in the first episodes up to that point do not make sense. I mean, that's the whole problem with it all that I have, because at the end, Jenner says that they're inanimate and they don't know anything but to eat. So that's why I feel that it's more of a plot hole than whatever. Nikki says, so the story is that the virus mutated so that future walkers couldn't do all the human stuff. Christine said Nikki Archibald makes sense. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I can agree with it all up to a certain point, that all these people wanted it one way and other people wanted it another. But at the end of the thing, unless they threw that ending in, the CDC and all that in, because it wasn't never thought about, then I don't know. It just doesn't jive with the ending. The beginning doesn't jive with the end. So Gail says, I thought it was because the director changed. Yes, Gail, apparently I've been thinking about it all wrong all these years, which is all right with me. That is why we do these things. Uh, Frank Darabont got fired, and that is why you have Carol today. Because what's his face? The RV guy. Oh, you know who I'm talking about. Dale said that if you're going to fire him, I want off the show. So they killed Dale instead of Carol. So you can thank them killing Dale for having Carol around today.
Thanks, Dale.
That's right. It's all Dale's fault. Mike says, why haven't we seen further mutations by this point, either stronger, faster, smarter walkers or devolved to extinction? Exactly, Mike. My point, exactly. That is, I guess it's us guys against all those girls. So, okay. Christine said, I like Dale, but Carol is iconic. Gail says, yeah, thanks, Dale. Yep. I mean, of course, by the same token, you can also thank Darabont for Carol even being on there, because there was a trivia question that Teresa put out was who was all in the mist, and in the mist you had Dale, you had Carol, and you had Andrea, and it was all directed by Frank Darabont.
And you had Morales.
Right, and if you look at any of at all of his movies of Darabont movies, Dale, can't think of the guy's name, but the guy who plays Dale is in almost every.
Jeffrey DeMunn.
There you go, Jeffrey DeMunn is in almost every single movie that he puts out because they're best friends. So, and Nikki.
Yeah, they're like really good friends. The way I've read.
Right. Nikki says the guy in the tank. I don't. If we're talking about the guy in
First
the tank
season walker
episode.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Rick that jumped in there and he just sat there for the longest time. Did the guy in the tank he animated sooner or later, didn't he?
Well, no, there's a story out there that, there's something on YouTube where he originally, when Darabont was still running the show, he was going to start out with the second season. They was going to do like kind of a backstory on that guy as to how he ended up there in that tank, but that never happened.
Gotcha. All right. So that was a gimme, I guess. I mean, the tank guy was on my list, but he wasn't high enough on my list to get a mention. So thank you, Nikki, for bringing him up. Is it a plot point? The only plot point that I can think of is how long was that guy in that tank before he got animated to kill Rick? I mean, seems to me that the tank was there, of course. Where was all the bodies that the tank had to have ran over to get there? Unless there wasn't any, and then the zombies just attacked the tank and took him out. So I don't know. It'd
have been nice to have seen a backstory on him to see how he ended up there, but that was a long time ago. That'll never happen.
Right. Yep. Okay, now then, let's go on to number one. And number one is, how did Herschel and his family not know about Sophia being in the damn barn? Ugh. Okay, so
I mean, okay, Patricia was the one that is the only one I think that I can recall we ever saw feeding them chickens. You know, there wasn't that many. I think there's like 15 walkers in the barn. I
right,
believe there's 15 of them in there.
right.
So with her going in there and throwing some chickens down there, and you know she's had to see a little girl.
Yep,
She's had to.
I agree. I mean, okay, first of
Do
all,
I personally think that Herschel knew? I don't think so.
I disagree. Herschel knew everything that went on his farm. I can't see them not telling him, especially after they keep on going out looking for this little girl. I can't believe that. What did you say her name was?
The little girl? Oh, Patricia. Patricia.
I can't believe that Patricia didn't say, "Hey Herschel, we got this little girl in the barn." And you know, Herschel wants Rick and his group off of his farm. You know, he's telling them time and time again, "Don't get comfortable because you're gone." But
though he wanted them off. He wanted them off their farm, and he said, "Find that little girl. I want you off my farm." So I think if he knew she was in there, he could have went out and let her out, and that way they would have found her.
I think that's right. I mean, I got that written down too. If you know, they could have went out and gotten her and took her out and let her bumble her way into the
Yeah, they could have took her out there in the bogs and let her got stuck in the mud, so they would have found her.
Right. I mean, you can't tell me that Herschel didn't know what was going on, but by the same token, if he didn't know, then why didn't he bring her out to get him off the farm that much sooner?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the other problem I have with anybody in that barn is Herschel is supposedly a very religious man. I mean, if he's that religious, he knows that the walkers are dead, reanimated. He knows that the soul goes to heaven whenever the person dies. So why would he be putting people in the barn to begin with?
He hadn't accepted that they were dead.
I mean, that's what what the people say. I don't buy it, because he either isn't as religious as he said he was, or
maybe I think because he had his family in there, and that played a part. That's where it gets you know, a little muddy there between what he believes in.
Right. So I mean, the thing with Sophia, I say he had to have known. They all had to have known that they had Sophia in the barn, and they just didn't say anything. So that's all I have for tonight. Teresa, you think of anything that we missed tonight?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, I don't. All right. Thank everybody for joining us tonight.
They have to love us.
Week are going to be discussing, are they or aren't they? Who is still alive in the TWD universe? I want to be putting up a post, and I want everybody to put out their ideas of who it is we need to talk about. And with that, I gotta say good night and see y'all next week.
Have a good weekend, everyone.